What's up, everyone? This is Ala bringing you the best entertainment here in the DMV with episode 3 of Throwback Classics. If you're a 90s child, you probably had one of the best generations to play video games, especially around the end of the 90s. At that time, Pokemon was blowing up with the trading card game, the anime, the manga, and the games, of course. But there was another series that was creeping up on the popularity at the time. Digimon. Digimon had released their virtual pets at the time with their Digivices, these little squares, where you would take care of your Digimon. You take it out to eat, make it sleep, you make it battle, you even poop. So at the time, this along with Tamagotchi was like the digital pets that you would have at the time. And I remember a bunch of people had Tamagotchis, but a lot of people didn't have the Digimon at the time. I remember seeing them at GameStop or at EB Games at the time, but I never got into it because it was just a little LCD screen and it wasn't really like graphically good compared to like the Game Boy at the time. And Pokemania was still at its strongest at the time. Then the anime showed up and it blew my mind at the time. Digimon weren't like Pokemon. I mean, yes, there were fake electronic pets / animals and monsters. Unlike a lot of Pokemon at the time, a lot of the Digimon were actual monsters. They were much more mature. Even the humanoids looked like humans, even if they were monsters. You know, Pokemon had a bunch of cute, cuddly creatures. Yeah, you know, not to knock out Pokemon, I still love it, but it was completely different from the look that the Digimon monsters had. I'll even give you an example. The closest thing to a human that we had in Gen 1 was Mr. Mime and Jinx. And then we have on the Digimon side, we have Angemon and Anjawomon. Yeah, very different. Also, Digimon didn't stray from religion. A lot of Digimon have something to do with angels, devils, holy powers, darkness. You know, it has a lot of folklore in there from different countries. It made it very different from Pokemon. But enough about me comparing it to Pokemon. They're very distinct in their own regards. I just wanted to point that out. Now to the real reason why we're here. At the time, Digimon only had their Digivice game. That was all about to change on the PS1. To this day, I still get chills watching the intro. So Digimon World 1, the story goes like this. A human is brought to the digital world to save File City. A lot of Digimon are losing their memories and becoming feral and attacking other Digimon along the way. The city has also fallen into disarray. All Digimon have abandoned it and left it. Your goal is to save the city by helping Digimon recover their memories through many different ways. It could be by fighting them, feeding them, doing them favors, a very long other ways. So just like the Digivice game, you're given a Digimon at the start of the game, starting with either Gabumon or Agumon. The main gameplay is to train this Digimon in order to make it evolve into a champion form and hopefully an ultimate form if you're extremely lucky. Just like a real pet, you must train it, feed it, let it rest, and even take it to the bathroom. I remember going to my friend's house after school, or whenever I went over, he would play Digimon World. This was probably around 3rd, 4th, 5th grade. Of course, the fun part was to see which champion Digimon we would get. So after 3 days of training your rookie or playing with them, they would evolve, or they would turn into their next champion. Most of the time, we would get Numamon. One of the worst Digimons to get in the beginning of the game. He would get destroyed even by rookie Digimons, even by the easiest Digimon that are out there, the wild ones. He would get demolished, just terrible. So my advice, if you ever play this game, if you get Numamon early on, just reset the game, start it all over again, because you're gonna just be upset and it's gonna be a waste of time. Then once a while, me and him would either get a Centaurimon or a Tyrannomon. And with that, we could try to recruit the other Digimon for the city and go out and discover the island and see what other Digimon we can find. Because I've played this game so many times, I did end up getting a Greymon. Like I said before, it is very common, especially for your very first time playing the game, to get a Numamon. Back then we didn't know how to get the specific Digimon you wanted, which champion and things like that, because we didn't have internet back then. There was only strategy guides, and we were kids back then, so we couldn't buy strategy guides. We wouldn't know. Eventually come to find out that there's so many parameters in this game that you need to do, or like conditions, in order to get the specific Digimon you want. Most of the times it's by stats. But another thing a lot of people didn't know back then, or what we didn't know, was weight was a big part of it, or care mistakes. So care mistakes means if your Digimon pooped outside a toilet, or if you forgot to feed it, or if it was exhausted the whole time. Things like that count against you, and it doesn't show it in the game. And the weight is probably one of the most biggest things, because if your Digimon's underweight, even if you have the perfect stats, but if it's completely underweight, it automatically will turn into a Numamon. That in-depth of so many different things we didn't know back then is just crazy how much I kind of know now with all the information I learned. And eventually I did get a strategy guide when I got older. Do not worry if you get Numamon on the first try. Just keep trying, keep experimenting until you get somebody good. I haven't even talked about the battle aspect. So in this game, you only control your human character. The Digimon is controlled completely by the AI. You do not have any other way of controlling your Digimon other than give it commands in battle. So at first, the only command you have is Auto, which has your Digimon do whatever it wants in battle, or run away. If you're not fighting a boss battle, you're fighting against the little guys or the rookies, or not like a big battle, you can run away. Eventually, with a lot, and I mean a lot of brain power, you can choose the moves that your Digimon can use in battle. The good thing as well is the more brain power your Digimon has, the easier it is to learn new tech from other enemies, or through just learning it through the brain training. Now, they give you different commands every 100 of brains you have, so eventually you get like moderation, defense, change. But then once you hit 500, that's when you end up gaining the action where you can actually choose which move you want to use, rather than the AI thinking which move they should use at the time. Eventually, over time, either through dying too much in battle or through old age, yes, your Digimon has an age and they will die. And yes, it's a permadeath. But it's not all sad. You gain an egg and you will have to train a new Digimon, but with inherited stats and all the techs it had, only if it died with an old age. Because if it died 3 times losing a battle, you will lose everything. You will lose the stats and techs, and not to mention all your items. Honestly, it sounds very tedious, and at times it is, especially in the beginning of the game. But once you start bringing in more Digimon to the city, they add a lot more to the table. Better items, doctors. You see the city flourish as more and more Digimon come. Another fun aspect of the game is seeing which Digimon you get. There's a list of 57 Digimon you can get, so good luck trying to get them all, from rookies to champions to ultimate. Lastly, once you get to the arena, for me, that's where the fun is at. Seeing if your Digimon can go through a gauntlet of other Digimon to see if you are crowned the champion to the next one. So how's the game now? Other than the Digimons themselves, like the graphics, it hasn't aged well. As I said before, the game is tedious and you have to work very hard in the beginning to get the ball rolling. The controls are alright, but because the stages are mainly backgrounds, like static backgrounds, and the camera angle is fixed, you may run into a bunch of battles that you didn't intend to. And believe me, when your Digimon has to poop and you run into a random Digimon, you can for sure know they're gonna poop right after that fight. So sometimes you get hit with random battles that you didn't even want to. The techs are another problem. If you don't have some good techs, it's gonna be hard, especially with the bosses or mid bosses, because they can hit you for a truck. So work on those brains. I can also see that a lot of people won't like the fact that they aren't controlling the Digimon themselves, but I think of it as a fun and different way, just to know that Digimon has its own mind instead of a person controlling it. Digimon World 1 did have sequels, which we will talk about another time, but I wouldn't call it a sequel directly to this game because they play completely different from each other. The closest one that I've played to this game is Digimon World Next Order on the PS4. How's the music? It's alright. It has its tunes here and there, other than a couple of some memorable songs, but not that much. Now the Digimon sounds, like their cries, If you ever played that game, you probably know the sounds of the Digimon, such as the roar Agumon or Gabumon have, or those annoying buzzing sounds that Yamamon have. The game is hard to find, but if you have a PS1 or somebody you know who has it, at least try to see if you don't get Numamon your first try. If you can do that, then you do great things. If not, try again. I won't spoil the rest of the game anymore that I have to, so tell me, have you guys played this game? And if you have, what you got your first time playing Digimon? Which Digimon did Digivolve to? This is Allergy signing out. You guys have a great day and hit that like and subscribe button. If you want to see episode 2 or 1, it's on top of your screen right now.